She came to a Marine Corps graduation as just another proud grandmother in the crowd, until the USMC commander's eyes locked onto the tattoo on her arm, and he suddenly froze mid-ceremony. Why would a single tattoo stop a hardened Marine commander cold? And before we begin, what part of the country are you watching from? Drop in the comments. The sun beat down on the parade deck as rows of freshly minted Marines stood tall, their uniforms crisp, their faces set with pride and exhaustion. Families filled the bleachers, waving small flags, scanning the ranks for familiar faces. Among them sat Evelyn Carter, a silver-haired woman in her early 60s, hands folded neatly in her lap, heart pounding harder than she expected. She hadn't missed a single milestone in her grandson Daniel's life, but this felt different. This wasn't just graduation. This was transformation. Evelyn had dressed simply, a rust-colored jacket over a plain blouse. She didn't want attention. She never did. The past had taught her that blending in was safer. As the ceremony began, the commanding officer, Colonel James Harlan, strode onto the deck with the confidence of a man who had spent his life in uniform. His voice carried across the field as he spoke about honor, sacrifice, and the legacy every Marine now carried forward. As the Marines were called to attention, Evelyn leaned forward, squinting slightly, finally spotting Daniel. He stood taller than she remembered, jaw clenched, eyes forward. Pride swelled in her chest. Her little boy was gone. In his place stood a United States Marine. When the command was given for families to come forward for the traditional first salute, the crowd stirred. Evelyn rose slowly, steadying herself. The jacket sleeve slipped just slightly as she moved, exposing a portion of her upper arm. She didn't notice. She was too focused on Daniel, whose eyes had finally found her in the crowd. Colonel Harlan stepped down from the platform to oversee the salutes personally. He prided himself on tradition, on order, on control. As he moved along the line, his gaze swept over families, smiling parents, tearful spouses, excited children. Then his eyes landed on Evelyn. He stopped. It wasn't her age. It wasn't her posture. It was the tattoo. Bold, unmistakable, etched into her skin. A wolf's head, scarred and snarling, surrounded by symbols so old and precise that only someone who had lived a certain life would recognize them. Colonel Harlan felt the blood drain from his face. He knew that mark. Few did. Fewer still lived long enough to wear it openly. For a moment, the ceremony faltered. Marines remained frozen at attention, families whispering in confusion. Evelyn noticed the sudden stillness and looked up, her calm eyes meeting the colonel's. Recognition flashed, not surprise but understanding. Harlan cleared his throat, visibly shaken. He had last seen that tattoo decades ago in a classified briefing room, under circumstances that never officially existed. The woman associated with it was rumored to be dead. A ghost, a legend whispered about in special operations circles. He approached her slowly, ignoring protocol. "Ma'am," he said quietly, his voice stripped of command. "May I ask, where did you serve?" Evelyn smiled faintly. "I didn't," she replied. "Not on paper." The colonel straightened, then did something no one expected. He snapped to attention and rendered a sharp, flawless salute to a civilian grandmother standing among folding chairs. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. He had never seen a commanding officer salute anyone outside the chain of command, especially not like this. Harlan lowered his hand and spoke so only Evelyn could hear. "You saved my unit in 91. Desert night. No air support. We were dead without you." Evelyn's eyes softened. "You boys did the hard part," she said. "I just made sure you came home." The colonel turned back to the formation, his voice steady but heavy with meaning. "Marines," he announced, "today you inherit a legacy built by people history may never name, but whose courage made your oath possible." The ceremony resumed, but nothing felt the same. Afterward, Daniel rushed to his grandmother, confusion written all over his face. "Grandma," he whispered, "what was that?" She placed a hand on his chest, right over his new eagle, globe, and anchor. "Some stories," she said gently, "aren't meant to be told, just lived." Later, As families departed, Colonel Harlan stopped Daniel. "You should be proud," he said. "You come from warriors." Daniel looked back at Evelyn, who simply gave him a knowing smile. That day, a young Marine learned that heroism doesn't always wear uniform, and a commander was reminded that legends sometimes sit quietly in the crowd, clapping the loudest for the next generation. I will sure to subscribe to the channel.